Sand tunnel collapses on Texas tourist at Florida beach. A Texas man was critically injured Sunday when sand collapsed on him after he reportedly dug a tunnel near Crescent Beach in St. Augustine, according to emergency personnel. The incident occurred at about 1:40 p.m. ET Sunday in the 8,200 block of A1A South, where a man dug a sand tunnel, hole parallel to a dune. Some sand collapsed and he became buried in it, according to St. Johns County Fire Rescue. Emergency personnel arrived and removed 2 to 3 feet of sand, uncovered the man and transported him to Flagler Hospital, where he was in critical condition Sunday afternoon. No other injuries were reported. Holes on beaches and their tendency to collapse are far more dangerous than they appear at first glance. On July 31, 2017, Ashley O'Connor, 30, of Plano, Texas, was found buried in a hole on the beach in Ocean City, MD. Police say she died of asphyxiation. Her death was ruled an accident. Also in July 2017, a 12-year-old boy in California died after digging a tunnel into the side of a sand dune, which then collapsed on him, according to ABC News. In June the same year, an Indiana teen was severely injured after jumping into a 7-foot pit he dug in the sand and it caved in and buried him. And a 16-year-old boy was buried after a tunnel he was digging in the sand on a New Jersey beach collapsed. In 2012, the Salisbury, MD. Daily Times reported that a man attempting to connect 2 6-foot holes through an underground tunnel on Rehoboth Beach, Del. was resuscitated by emergency medical technicians after the tunnel collapsed. And in 2007, an 11-year-old Pennsylvania boy was resuscitated by emergency responders after he suffocated under a collapsed tunnel dug on the beach in Ocean City, the Daily Times reported. A hole dug on a beach of sand reacts differently than a hole dug in a farm field, Stephen Van Ryswyk, chief of the Coastal and Environmental Geology program at the Maryland Geological Survey, told the Daily Times. What makes holes in the sand so prone to falling in on themselves, or slumping, has to do with their low angle of repose, Van Ryswyk said. An angle of repose is the maximum angle an object can rest on an incline without sliding down. A rock, for example, would have a 90-degree angle of repose, meaning that its sides can be straight up off the ground. Beach sand, however, would have an angle of repose closer to 30 degrees, he said. A grain of sand that reaches the beach has tumbled far through a marine environment, Van Ryswyk said, making it round. All those grains on the beach add up to a wide expanse of tiny marbles. Think of it like a sand castle, where if you add a little water to the sand, you can achieve even a 90-degree angle, he said. The water holds it together. However, too much water is going to liquefy it. If you add a bucket of water to that castle, it's all going to slump away. Holes are typically dug into the beach when the sand is moist, in a zone where the tide has recently receded. As the sand dries, its structural integrity gets weaker. And when disturbed by a person or other vibrations, it can collapse suddenly. If someone falls into that hole, it can quickly prove deadly. The risk with a sand collapse is similar to drowning in a liquid. Oxygen deprivation leads to cardiac arrest and organ damage. The brain is particularly vulnerable, said Dr. Brian Deligatti, a physician and assistant medical director at the Peninsula Regional Medical Center Emergency Room. With drowning, you can inhale water and, to a lesser degree, sand particles, Deligatti said. They're really very similar. The latter is almost like drowning in sand, essentially the same. After a few minutes without oxygen, Deligatti said, a victim would lose consciousness. The heart rate would drop, then stop. At that point, the victim would be without oxygen to his or her brain. It's hard to say for certain, and it can vary from patient to patient, but within fewer than 10 minutes you're in serious risk of death, he said. Emergency responders must work fast, Deligatti said, because inhaling sand blocks airflow. The first step would be a breathing tube and 4 fluids. If that didn't work, experts would insert a tiny camera via a breathing tube directly into the patient's airway to help a pulmonologist determine if sand needs to be washed out, he said. If sand or swelling in the lungs still prevents oxygen from entering, the final step would be an advanced procedure in which the blood would be passed out of the body and through a machine bypassing the lungs, to provide oxygen to the patient. The weight of sand makes sand collapses even more dangerous. According to the U.S. Natural Resources Conservation Service, sand weighs about 100 to 112 pounds per cubic foot. By comparison, a cubic foot of water, roughly 7.5 gallons, weighs about 62 pounds. Each cubic foot of sand on a victim's torso is the equivalent of a 13 to 15-year-old boy standing on the victim's chest. Just from a mechanical standpoint, the muscles of the chest wall might not be able to overcome the pressure and expand to allow the patient to breathe, Deligatti said. That's a complication that's actually not present in drowning, and one that can really lessen the time a victim has before rescue is an absolute necessity.